How's it going, folks? Approach play, specifically focus play through the middle. Hope we're all well. So focus play, and specifically through the middle, this is something that can get quite confused in Football Manager. If we just hover over it, you'll see what the game says about it. Focus play through the middle encourages a more intense attacking focus in central areas of the pitch. Basically, this means that your team are going to focus the play, they're going to look for balls infield rather than out. I got a comment on a video the other day asking how width would coexist with this sort of approach play, and it's an interesting one. Natural inclination, if you want to focus play through the middle, would be to change your attacking width to narrow. This instructs players to play almost exclusively through the central areas of the pitch, congesting the play to a smaller area. That sounds like the right option, right? And it is a good option, there's no doubt about it, but there's absolutely no reason why you can't play with the width to aid focus play through the middle as well. So let's take the narrow approach first. You're playing through the middle and you're going to go attacking width, narrow. So your players are going to be all hovering in these areas and the players are going to be focusing in these areas. Players such as De Bruyne, such as Gundogan, they're going to look to play in and around these holes here, and Rodri. Even your wing backs may well look to play the ball into these areas. Sterling and Silva will naturally start a bit narrower, probably in and around these areas, so your play's really going to be intense. Benefits to this approach are you're going to have so many players in and around the middle areas of the pitch that you're going to overload and outnumber the opposition. Negatives are you can become a little bit predictable to defend against. The opposition are going to know that you're going to be playing through these areas. You're really narrow, so they'll match you, they'll go narrow and try and force you out. As always in this great game, there's pluses and minuses to every approach you take. Now, as I said, a lot of people will stay away from going wide when they're playing through the middle because they don't think it matches. But if you just hover over the wide description, you'll see this instructs players to look to stretch the pitch and play in a more expansive manner. So it doesn't suggest that they're going to suddenly play down the flanks just because they're playing wide. What it means is they're going to spread their starting positions a bit more. What this will then do is it will give you more space in the middle if you are playing focus through the middle. Now, unlike the other approach, you're not going to have as many bodies in these areas here, but the player's going to be stretched, so there's going to be more room for these players to capitalise on. So if you are steadfast on playing focus through the middle, there's two approaches you can take, both with benefits and minuses. But the benefits of playing a wider game with focus play through the middle is the guys in the middle will have more space. The negatives, there's not going to be as many of them in those areas. It's potentially a really good option to take if your two central midfielders, like Man City's are really strong, because they're going to have loads of space to operate and find chances for Jesus, Sterling and Silva. This, of course, will be amplified if your two outer wingers are inverted, because they're going to be cutting in. So De Bruyne and Gundogan can provide the bullets to these three up front by having more space because the pitch is stretched. So here we are, playing narrow through the middle. So we're really narrow here, so the play's going to be condensed. And you can see that we've got the ball, we're attacking, and our only wider players are João Cancelo and back here, Mendy. All the rest are in these areas here, so it's really narrow. There's plenty of options for the players, but for this option, you're going to need good technical players with good movement because they're going to have to prise open the space. You can see you've got De Bruyne there, central midfield. You've got Bernardo Silva, who's an inverted winger. Look how central he is. Sterling, inside forward, again central. Obviously your main focal point, Jesus. And you've got Gundogan and Rodrigo. So they're all in them central areas. Just switch it to extremely wide. So once we get the possession back, let's have a look and see how we now shape up. Okie dokie, so there you can see it. Look at the difference. Look at the distance between each player in this one. Rather than all being in these areas here, on top of each other, doing a little intricate play, they're completely spread out. Now your inverted winger and your inside forward starting position is a lot wider. You've got De Bruyne there, you've got Gundogan who's got a bit more of a license to come out wide to the space. More space, so they've got a bit more space to operate. So there's a couple of schools of thought there. If you're going to go extremely wide, you saw how far apart the players were. Maybe you're better off by changing your in possession instructions a little bit. So rather than being much shorter, for example, when you're playing extremely wide like that, you may want to go to a standard or even a more direct level so they can ping it around a bit more. On the flip side, if you're going to go narrow, you saw in the first clip how close together all the players were. There's not a lot of point going direct in that instance, is there? Because you all in the boxes together, in them little squares, in the little zones. You're playing tick-a-tacker, you want to drop it down a bit, but potentially get the tempo up so you're moving it around a little bit faster to try and prize open an opportunity. So that's focus play through the middle. Again, this great game just makes it so there's more than one way to do it. You can go narrow or you can go wide. You just need to tweak a couple of other things to make each option work the best it can.